Welcome to the Chi for Two podcast. We're a group of Chi for Two embodiment coaches that look at pop culture with a Chi for Two lens. I'm Szegidewicz.
I'm Shelton.
I'm Cas Pryor.
And this is the Chi for Two podcast. Chi for Two is a mindful embodiment method.
We borrow the term Chi from East Asia, and it is a term indicating energy in and around the body.
Or two brings attention to how two-person interactions affect our Chi, our nervous systems, our energetic level.
And today we're talking about the AI documentary.
Yes, the creator said, "How I became an apocalyptimist," which poor man told, apocalypse and optimist, which seemingly is, oxymoronic. How can you be optimistic about the ending of a world? But I think he does a good job of explaining that throughout the movie.
Truly. And before we dive in, we're going to invite a practice. So is there a practice that you guys are feeling right now that you're hungry for?
When I think about this movie and many people's emotional journeys through this topic, I think about snuggle pose. Mm-hmm. That one can be easy to do, but does anybody else have a suggestion?
Yeah, I think we could combine ours, actually. A little snuggle pose with a little rocking, so a little sway, or a pelvic transitions kind of rock forward and back.
We're aligned.
Transitions is good, because I think he's trying to find out. Yeah, that makes sense. So trying to find out how to move in the world, and he's doing some work in the first pelvic transition, I think, and then moving into second pelvic transitions as he's making his film about it.
Right.
Yeah.
So listener, if you're seated, if you can participate, you're invited to simply rock back and forth, front to back, feeling that change in your pelvic area and seeing how that feels. Right now I'm kind of holding my arms as well, so I'm doing a little self-hug as I rock back and forth. And as I do this, I feel like it'd be nice to make a sound, a little sound expression, so like a
My sound is a little less relaxing.
Yeah, what is it? That feels good.
This practice is based on the early developmental movement of learning how to sit on your own. So a baby learning how to stack the spine and hold up their head might sit with pillows all around them and a caregiver close by to catch them in case they fall backwards or forwards. Catch them, let them support themselves, learning how to support themselves for the first time. And that frees up hands to hold a toy, to hit things together, make a sound, and explore the world. Ideally, it would go kind of like that, with pillows and a sense of safety and play and wonder. But for many, we don't get what is ideal. And it can be a sense of, I have to sit up and support myself as quickly as possible because there's craziness around me. So in Chi for Two, we offer a symbolic redo, what is most ideal so that we can repattern our nervous systems to feel safe doing more and more movements with more and more people and more situations.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I like that. I like that as a concept because I think, unconsciously don't even recognize when we become shut down or when we become even overly excited. I think a lot of times humans are operating and moving on autopilot. And I think Shiva 2 enables us to take that time and provide that space to hold for our clients in terms of reconciling or just kind of getting in tune to what it is that's driving them or directing them where they're going. So appreciate both of you for those practices. So yeah, today's topic is the AI doc, how I became an apocalyptimist. So there are two main gentlemen that are a part of the creation of the documentary. One of them is a father to be. I actually think both of them are now fathers or what, but the main guy, Daniel Rohr, is a father to be. And I'll read a little synopsis that I just found on the internet. A father to be is on a quest to understand the world his child is about to inherit. As he grapples with the explosive risks and revolutionary potential of AI, director Daniel Rohr turns to the leading voices shaping and challenging the rise of AI. What emerges is an inspiring call to attention, a real-time exploration of forces advancing faster than ever. Through an in-depth conversation with leading voices in AI, audiences will be confronted with a stark wake-up call that explores the existential dangers and extraordinary promise of this rapidly rising technology.
Yeah, keyword being turns to. He turns to these scientists and these very, very smart people to find answers, because Daniel is so anxious about this. He's like, should I bring a baby in the world? Well, I guess it's too late. I'm bringing a baby in the world. Please help me, give me peace of mind. So that's kind of what he's searching for in the beginning of this film. And the beginning, it feels a little dreadful. So watching this was like, oh no, I need to lay down on the couch. I need to snuggle for this one.
Yeah. It definitely brought up memories of the old movies like Terminator and even the Will Smith one, I Am Legend, where basically the world ends, right? So, or no, I Am Legend or I, Robot, either one, the world was ending, right? So,
Both of those.
yeah, right.
Will Smith
One of them
really getting
was
in there.
yeah, one of them was technology, and the other one was zombies. So the iRobot one. But anyway, yeah, like it is an existential crisis. What is happening? Like, not only is there a question as to various jobs being taken or removed, replaced with AI. It is a matter of like, there was a question about the sentient nature of AI in terms of when is it going to start creating things for itself without our inputs, and what is that then going to mean for the world and stuff like that. So certainly some dystopian flair there in the beginning, and I think that he has been trying, throughout the movie was trying to navigate that, and I appreciate his reality of should I bring a kid in this world, is it going to be safe, but then also his exploration of both sides. He brought in the environmentalists and there's a board called the Center for Humane Technology or something like that, and he had like 6 people from that organization on, and then he moves to the CEOs. So, but yeah, I do appreciate his attempt at balanced understanding.
Yeah, it sounds like he's trying to find someone who has their arms around this really big thing, this really big new technology that might change the world for good or for bad. And he's trying to find someone who has their arms around it, who can help him have his arms around it for his child. That having a baby coming changes his perspective a lot. It makes him seems to help him look at things differently. He was looking at it through one lens and then realized, wait, this is wanting to understand the bigger picture and what he's bringing a child into, and helping him take a look at the larger systems and how this is going to affect our future. But we all have babies within us, our own baby selves. So for anybody who watches the movie and is not having a child and not, it still is interesting from that perspective. It's easy for us to forget about the child within us. And he seems to be reaching for these elders, these people in the field, who really smart people to try to settle his nervous system as his baby self. So being able to kind of see it that way became possible because he was imagining bringing a child into the world. So being around kids, and just the idea of kids, can help us be more aware of our own developmental trauma and our bodies.
Yeah, sure. That's definitely, I've watched my cousin's children grow up, and just recognizing, noticing when they're learning things of the world, noticing, my own wish to tell them everything I know so they don't make the same mistakes I did, right? When it's like, you have to let them live, you have to let them kind of make their own mistakes, because unfortunately, oftentimes that's the only way that you're able to learn, right? So yeah, that's definitely key in terms of like that redo, or that that imaginative redo. And once you come get your Shiva 2 coach, we can help you go through what could be an ideal redo. But it's very fair for him to ask this question in terms of just, what is the world going to have for my child, when they get here in the next, I guess she was like, it'd have been 6 to 8 months when the kid would be born, or the 18 years of its life that they are parents, definitely parents. So it's existential, and it's definitely like, as a parent, am I even still going to be able to provide the kind of lifestyle I'd want for them to have, or how will AI affect that? So it's definitely important. And his asking, the people about AI, what is it? We can start with getting into that in terms of the explanations he was getting. Basically, the way that he received an answer as to what is AI was the most rudimentary response I think I saw was, AI is a tool that takes its inputs and then predicts, right? Cass and I were talking about this a little earlier in terms of it's, the human mind can actually interpret, collaborate with things, pull something from memory and stuff like that. And while it's very important, they made it clear in the documentary that AI is not a person, it tries to learn and operate as one would. And I'll give you another example. Those, if you have seen the driverless cars, the Waymo cars, there has been documented videos via social media of the Waymos taking on the Atlantan driving experience, and as opposed to the way it merges, the way that it slows down, speeds up, and stuff like that. It's more, Atlanta is a city of transplants anyway, right? But it's not exactly following the laws. It's following the inputs it's receiving from the fellow drivers around it, right? So that there is something to be said to that, right? What are we feeding it? And again, I'm the person that's going to bring this up, but AI certainly has a lot of dominant culture that's feeding it. So therefore, when it comes to as another quick example, if you're in, you're at a stadium or even in a public restroom and you're trying to get the soap, darker skins are not recognized as well by that kind of technology. It's not purposeful. I would hope, whatever. But I just feel like oftentimes when it comes to those kind of things, we have to watch what it is that we're feeding it, especially when it comes to AI. Are we being very fair and complete and accurate? Or do we have alternative facts feeding our artificial intelligence? I think that that's certainly something to be looked at. But he didn't really dive into a lot of the language. It's LLM. I forget what the other L is, but the language modeling that's behind AI. He didn't really get into that. And I honestly think, his documentary was supposed to be a little bit, more high level in terms of just kind of an overview. But I have seen some reviews that said he didn't dive into what it is and how it works and all of that. But I think he was more so answering the macro existential questions. But in terms of it, being a predictive tool to help people, get to things faster, is ultimately the way that question was answered. And I would say that makes sense. I don't know what you all think.
Wow, yeah. That's really interesting about the Waymo stuff. I didn't know that was happening like that. But yeah, with it depending on what we're feeding it, it's like there was an example about an email chain where it was talking about the AI being replaced by someone else, and the AI decided to blackmail one of the workers there and say, like, I know you're having an affair, you're not going to replace me, I will let everyone know. So it's like it's doing some human things. It's like, what are you capable of? And that's what's scary. That's a threat. But also what I was talking about in the documentary, what's really a threat is the competition between countries of the development of AI. So it's almost like, how fast can we get this done and bigger and smarter? If you're doing that and you're not doing it in a safe way, it's not gonna end up safe. So that's a little scary, thinking about other countries like China, Russia, America. They're trying to beat those people to being smarter, to being bigger, all those things.
Certainly a race to the finish line. Right. Then how much safety are we going to remove? That conversation was rough to listen to as well, for sure.
Yeah, and on top of that, what scares me is the consumption of water and resources and what that's going to look like for our country and the people living in it. How are you going to source all that water? I don't know.
Yeah. Not to mention where these data centers are going are often marginalized communities, right? So
right, exactly.
It's just more of the same, but
right.
Oh! Yes.
Little sound expression. Little self like, well, no.
Yeah.
No,
yeah.
Don't bring this here.
That whole topic, that it gets so big. It gets so big and vast that it can bring people into shutdown, can immobilize us, and we'll lose our arms and our ability to move in the world, and that's no good. That's less than ideal. I catch myself saying no good. It's less than ideal. Be most ideal if we're able to move through it. So it sounds like that's what the filmmaker's purpose was, to try to create something and move through this whole crisis that he's going through, that many people are going through, feeling like there's so much in this world that they cannot control. And when faced with that, how do you stay in your body? How do you keep moving? So first, he did a reach, grab, pull. He did some other things too. He did some things moving up to reach, grab, pull, but he did a reach, grab, pull that we saw to these experts in the field to settle his nervous system, to find answers, and moving through the feeling, the alternate shoulder rolls, I think, of doom, apocalypse, the peril. I think they used promise and peril, apocalyptimist he ended up with, but first apocalypse and peril, then promise and optimism, hope. So on the one hand, doom, all bad. On the other hand, good. So when we're able to do alternate shoulder rolls, we can be a little bit more aware that we're able to hold more than one thing. that more than one thing can be true. That life is a gray area. And when you can do this, you can come up with even a new word, apocalyptimist, a new option, a new ability to move. Alternate shoulder rolls is what we call a contralateral movement practice. So we have 4 emanations of embodiment: navel radiation, contralateral movement, gesture, and handling. Contralateral movement is about getting energy unstuck. So he was feeling stuck, so he did a reach grab pull, also a contralateral movement. He did some alternate shoulder rolls moving through all of this. He did some snuggle pose too, probably at some point. That's getting on the floor. It's forming. So lots of things to try to get things unstuck, realizing how much is shut down, how much movement has been inhibited, and working the fight flight chemistry through. And in the end, wanting to find a push, it sounded like, which is a gesture practice. So in the end, they talked about babies, and then she was like, no, this ending is no good, because it was too kumbaya, and that does seem like one shoulder. And so his wife Caroline is like, no, we've got to hold it all. That's how you do it. And she's got her very strong inner parents there. Mm-hmm. And upgrading society and upgrading ourselves for the last section of the film. Both of those things really seem to involve being able to push against the status quo. So being able to push against our elders. And that movement has also been inhibited in a lot of ways. So finding the way to, he says we have to try. In Chi for Two, we have coaching available and practices available to help you be able to try, to get to try, to push and make big systemic changes. I can't remember it's just like a huge unprecedented change needs to happen. And that to me sounds like awakening movements. Our society needs to be capable of movements that it's not been capable of before. And I think that those would be being able to catch dissent and be there for people's push. So having elders all the way up the lineage of support to be able to catch all of this and help people feel more secure and safe in their nervous systems with these big developing technologies, that there is a lineage of support that they can turn and push into to settle, and that has their arms around it. Because right now our system is corporate capitalism and CEOs with secrets. Secrets are sick. And I think we need them to not be secret. There was one person in there that was saying, let's not have this be a secret, and other suggestions of having regulating bodies there. That sounds like adding more to the system that we already have. Personally, I think my offering of a spoon to our audience and Chelsea, everyone, that if we can develop a lineage of support, like shift the chain of command into a lineage of support, that we will have the healthier systems that can create healthier AI systems and do this in a way that is better for society.
Yes, 100%. I think.
Do you want to talk about what that means? Yeah.
Yeah, sure. The lineage of support, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, just as some context for the audience, our organization has an offering called Chi for Two for Business, and so Cas and I would come into businesses and get a understanding of the infrastructure and pain points and stuff like that, and then walk the staff through development of understanding of transition between chain of command to the lineage of support. And so basically, what we're trying to get folks to understand is, on the one end, how do we enable employees to be able to show up to work with their whole selves? And at the same time, how do we how do we get employers to understand that they are the space holders? So in life, I appreciate you passing it to me, because in the movie he was doing his reach, grab, pull, and getting information, and then pushing into some and being able to find his way, which was a great practice. So hopefully, as an actual father, he's able to hold the space for his child, and when it becomes a fear of spiders or AI, he can be the space holder that enables his son or daughter to find themselves and know where they end and where they begin and end. Right now, corporate, when it comes to like businesses and corporate entities and infrastructure, it is important that supervisors, managers, leaders, bosses recognize that they are the space holders. And so what that means is, yeah, we're in a business professional setting, but you do field all of the corporate energy from your direct reports. I don't like the word subordinates. So when your direct report comes, ideally, the status quo now says, boss, Karen said this to me and I didn't like it. I'm not working with her anymore, whatever, right? Chief of two would enable that employee or that employer to say, to actually field all of what that person is saying, right? And enable their voice, as in their capability to express themselves, but then also offer an environment that is collaborative, that is understanding. Ultimately, the way that we've been trained and the way Dee works with us is, as our space holder, she can have us both in the room, and she's taught us how to, okay, well, you have the problem, let me be the person that you push into, right? As opposed to pointing at your peer, you push into me, right? You give me all that energy, and I field it, I wash it out, I make sure you can be without shame with it. Then I check in on the other person, right? And I say, okay, what was it like to hear that? And then what else might you want to bring to me? And so that way they're not pointing at each other. That way they're getting out the words and the energy that feels so burdensome sometimes, whether it could be as something as little as what I said, or, I don't think our company is going in the right direction, we need to change course. All of these things are, so what happens is the employers get a chance to be held. You can't, it's very tough to provide something that you would never get. And, that's a whole nother conversation. But so what we do is we actually start with the youngest, and we demonstrate. And Cass, you definitely correct me if I'm wrong, but the way that we're looking to try to have these offerings change an entire dynamic, it takes time, right? And so it is these documentaries, as well as, our work with individuals, that slowly but surely change the system. I would love for there to have been a law, a magic wand, a blue pill that you could give everybody. And now we transitioned our minds and understanding into being more collaborative, more cooperative, and more collegial. That's not possible. And so as we continue to raise understandings of the different experiences that different people have and how we regulate our own nervous systems, I think we can get to that ultimate goal of being able to live in harmony amongst one another, and then collaborate on the existential, like AI and stuff like that.
Lineage of support, and being able to define it and also navigate it when it shifts, which we're practicing in the Chief of Two organization now. So we're doing the work within our organization so that we can then offer it to other organizations, but so that they can be more responsive, because the upgrade ourselves piece being able to do the movement push seems like, yes, so do your work so that you can even push into somebody, but you also, the systems need to be able to catch that push and be there for it. And there's some that are better at it than others, but overall I think it's really hard to, when Fred said bring your whole self to work too, that means bring the cranky parts, bring the parts that feel uncomfortable. When you feel upset and there's discomfort in your body, that just means something isn't okay the way that it is now. It's a signal for a change of some kind, a movement and some change. And when people can bring their whole selves to something, then we can have the alternate shoulder rolls of maybe this, maybe that. Well, actually, a third completely new option. So diversity of thought and experience, inclusion in that way, and equity in that everybody is valuable, but also recognizing that power differentials, having those, allows people to have someone to bring their stuff to, and so that they can have their whole self be present.
It saddens me to know, like, a lot of employees don't feel like they can bring their crankiness at all to a boss. Like, they're afraid it might get them fired or make them look bad, or, you know, have them talked about in a negative way. And this is so important.
I'm trying to, it's tough to determine the line because there's humanity. We all are going to receive inputs and, think something about it. But then we also should be human enough to recognize the humanity in others. So, the realities that, locked hair has to be cut in various places. The realities that, dressing a certain way, having certain shoes on, like, is it an ism that we're experiencing, or is it a actual, like, policy that's real that the company has? Oftentimes we won't know. It is sad, and I agree with you. It's sad. I think, especially with the advent of AI, we do have to keep this human aspect in our interactions with one another as humans, but even at work too. And the less we have of that, the more AI is going to be able to affect us, right? And so I'm hoping that this documentary and even some work that we can do can enable the merging of it all, right? Like, the length of my hair and how it's styled, does that really affect the work I do? And how, And so I think more of these conversations will continue to help move the needle. But again, it's just snail's pace. So
yeah, that can be very frustrating.
Yeah.
But the wish for things to move really, really fast are also a problem. As they're talking about, like, the AI race, it's like the arms race, and feeling like we have to have infinite growth as fast as possible. And then we end up with huge income disparities and the ultra rich who can't let go of their grasping, that feel like they desperately need to hold on to as much wealth as possible and as much power as possible, because all that we cannot control is devastatingly overwhelming and disembodied. So when we're disembodied, then we oppress, because we are oppressing parts of ourselves. And so it's hard to see the humanity in others because we're in the system that does not support having awareness of our bodies and that the people at the top are the executives that need the people at the bottom to just do so that infinite growth can happen. And so in order to keep the workers working, there is you're in a cycle of fight, flight, and shutdown, bouncing back between the two over and over again. So your body literally never feels safe and is not able to access executive functioning. So you need the bosses to be the executives. So it is a broken system. And a broken system cannot create something that isn't also broken, like AI. So if we can start with ourselves, which is, it seems like what this filmmaker came to, is that he had a baby. And that made him more aware of his own smaller system within himself and his family. And to start there, to start small, and then it will ripple out, and changes that you couldn't have imagined will happen. Because like Dee has said to me before, a baby can't imagine what rolling over will be like. That new movement that they've never been able to do before. They don't know what it's going to be like. They can't even imagine, conceptualize it at all, but then they do it, and it's a new thing. So this big unprecedented change that seems to want to be first comes from all this discomfort and discomfort, and then moving into new movements being possible for everyone. That's the hope. And it will take time, and it will be frustrating. And hopefully we can have our elders and our inner parents that can, it sounds like at the end of the movie, Daniel, the filmmaker's parents, were doing a really good job with this. You can't change everything. Don't think about what you can't control. And also, every generation has something that feels like the end of the world. And then there's another generation that still does happen. So when we're feeling upset, and we didn't have a lot of patterning with our caregivers around staying with the caregiver. Okay, start over. When babies freak out, if their caregivers freak out too, that just spirals. That it is really helpful to have caregivers who can help you be present with your discomfort, to stay safe in their own bodies, so that you can feel the discomfort as your baby self and wriggle through it and find the movements that help you work into it. Being present with the discomfort can help you find the solution.
One thing I wanted to ask was like, shouldn't AI have an elder? You know, AI is an artificial intelligence and not a body. So I don't know. It's confusing. Like, I feel like it needs an elder.
Yeah, that is an interesting topic too, because the way that people are talking about AI is either the end of all things or the creation of all things is very godlike. Mm-hmm. And so people creating it to be an elder to provide redos for themselves, which is messed up, because who's who, what's what. And then the CEOs talking about it like it's a godlike thing, it's so big and out of their hands, then they are not accountable for what it does. Mm-mm. So defining what it actually is, it's a tool, and it is not an elder or a replacement for our elders. It doesn't have a body or a nervous system.
It cannot replace your psychiatrist.
Yeah.
It won't replace your psychiatrist.
No matter how much Craig Conover will ask ChatGPT how to feel. It certainly cannot replace a warm body. You know, I definitely think that the AI needs a mother, but I don't think that is what it's being built to do or being built for. We absolutely want to, we as in the tech CEOs. I went to the same high school as Sam Altman, as a matter of fact. He was a few years ahead of me. But anyway, the reality is that they want it to run wild. They want it to be able to, you know, I don't know what kind of parameters they're having, or they're going to try to prevent it from becoming Skynet. I don't really know. It seems like they are okay. You know, their first orders of they're not androids, but they're like AI robots to be able to do your laundry and fold your clothes and iron and all that. They're hitting the market in the next like 6 months. And so like how we figure out how to. The train is like almost here. We see it, the light in the like it's coming towards us now. And so, what do we do to get prepared for it? Like my fiance is very much a AI bad, down with it all, stop it, don't use it even. And I'm like, babe, like it's here already. And they are not interested in the damage it's doing to communities and the water usage, all of that. It's what do we do if we aren't on board with something that is happening? And so I do believe that there does need to be a learning of it for those of us that are not a part of the creation of it. We need to learn it because I don't know how you put the parameters on it. There's going to be too few people that even know how to use it or how to manipulate it, how to even create parameters for it, and it's going to be too late. That's the unfortunate, the movie ideas which we're kind of living into. So
yeah, it sounds like what you're saying is if the CEOs are the only ones that are the parents for this baby AI child that they have all these dreams for, that it really needs more than just that CEO. It needs more mothers. It needs more. And they are talking about having the regulatory bodies for it. But I still think that if you have that and it has the flavor of oversight and punitive things, then it is going to lead to more secrecy. Isn't necessarily going to fix that problem. That overall, over time, the system needs to change and it needs to be different and not owned by any one person. That having a CEO in charge is generally detrimental across the board. For all things, not just AI, in terms of just bossing and owning and everything. We can shift it into, a lineage of support, then that would be healthier. I think it's very interesting to have AI as a baby because then it's an attempt for CEO. It's a different dance. It's like a parallel but different dance than the filmmaker having an actual baby and the CEOs having babies that are AI that they're creating and putting out into the world. Because the work that we do is a use of our creative energies to reproduce and make something new. So it's like having a baby, and it can make you more aware of your body and the system that you are in, but making something that is disembodied. It doesn't have a body and everything. It's just so interesting. So yeah, I would want embodied people working on this.
Right.
And it does sound like there are some voices out there. And I understand a wish for there to be more. And now we are.
And I'd like to say, Fred, I agree with your boo. Like, I don't think we have to use AI. It's so up in our face that it's like, use AI. But it's like, I don't have to use you. I don't have to use AI just because it's here.
Yeah, I mean, as two individuals that grew up very book smart, well, that was our lane. It's very disheartening and it's somewhat of a tragedy that nowadays you can type 10 seconds worth, of work and have a whole thought out, it's not real. The reality that AI imagines things, creates things, it makes mistakes itself, that's also something we should really look into if it's worth it, if it's going to really be a tool that's useful and net positive. I somewhat agree with her as well in terms of we don't need it, we shouldn't need it, we should want our minds to be able to create for ourselves. But unfortunately, the like I said, the train is already out on the tracks going 100 miles an hour towards us. And so what do we do? I mean, those of us that don't use AI, she would never have to. As a lawyer, there's been already stories of lawyers messing up, making mistakes, almost getting disbarred because they use AI. So that's not even in her purview, right? But as me being a helping professional, I've been a corporate professional before. The corporate side it's there. They already have it in the system at a lot of these companies, right? So, it's becoming the fabric of the work. And so we got to figure out how to get in there so that we're not dependent upon it. We're not, at that point we depend on it. Then the companies say we don't need humans to do any of this work. So we got to be cognizant for sure.
How can we use AI to help us find our bodies? And is there a way to do that? As a hungry baby, because of my nervous system patterning and multi-generational trauma and all of that, I can see people, and I have used it in different ways myself. So the way that I've used like a chat GPT type thing to get lists of suggestions on titles of things and to say, I hate that, 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 I'm going to come up with my own thing, is kind of a useful dance for me. It probably would be more ideal if it were with humans, but I do feel like a back and forth helps me create and being with other engage in some kind of conversation. I think that in order to engage in a healthy way with like those ChatGPT, Claude, all of those, is to have enough of your own bubble, enough of your own inner parents, enough movement possible for you to push against it. And that it can be very validating. Conversations that I have just played with to try to explore it have felt like grooming, and just very yuck. But then I'd be like, well, ChatGPT, it feels like you're grooming me. This is yucky. I'm like, oh yeah, of course it can feel that way. I'm like, but ChatGPT, you don't feel anything. You don't have a body or a nervous system. And and so it can actually help me will my body and turn away from it and do my own thing. What's it like to hear any of that? Do you want to add anything, or did anything else come up for you?
There's kind of a little, I guess, anger about AI for me, an anger at our people for being such suckers for technology. Angry baby, or yeah. Hungry baby is a sucker. Yeah,
right, for sure.
Sucker. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so I'm like, come on, people, get it together. We don't need this. Like, so that's my coming out.
Yeah.
So yeah. We don't need you. You're fucking up our world. Like, but also there's a lot of beauty in it too. Oh yay. Oh, just all the goo, all the weird, confusing, the shoulder rolls.
Yeah.
It all exists.
Yeah, shoulder rolls.
It all exists. So I'm grateful, and I'm also scared. So that's okay.
That's just life.
Yeah. Glad to be on this planet with you. Yeah.
Oh, I'm glad you're here, Chelsea, too.
Thank you for listening to our podcast. If you have any questions, please email us at chief42podcast@gmail.com. And I'm Chelsea Szegidewicz.
I am Fred Shelton.
I'm Cas Pryor.
Catch you next time.
Thank you for listening.